I
And
am.
you just had a boundaries class last night. And I think boundaries is something everyone needs to know about. So would you like to share a little bit about your
I'd
class?
love to. What a wonderful way to start. Um, First of all, before I speak about boundaries, I have to talk about myself.
Yes, please.
When I was itty bitty, I had rich opportunity for growth.
Mm,
That's why I can say it.
I love that.
Yes, I am Cancer, so I'm a feeler. I am clairsentient. That's my main way of perceiving. That means I feel the world. My learning is kinetic, so I have to actually do the thing, and I don't want anyone watching me. I have to experience it, feeling it. I have to go through the action before I can learn how to do something. My love language is touch. I touch you. That's why this whole experience we're doing right now, where I have to find a new way to touch people so that I can give my love and experience the love. So what I'm saying is I'm a feeler, right?
Right.
And and because of the rich experiences I had as a child, it shut me down. It shut me so much so I couldn't taste. I couldn't feel. I was totally numb. I was totally out of body. I couldn't taste food. Nothing was funny. If someone told me a joke, I mean, and it got to be the joke. It's a joke, Susan. I mean, it's a joke, kind of thing. Comedy on TV was not funny to me. It was violent and abusive. Um, on a sexual level, I was totally frigid. I didn't like being touched, and which is a crazy thing to say for someone that is a feeler girl. So my whole world shut down. And what I have learned in hindsight is I absolutely was out of body, unconscious. My boundaries were I had none. There was none, zip, none. I was spiritually bereft. I was emotionally numb on the emotional tone scale. My physical body was numb, so much so that I have actually, when I graduated from chiropractic school, went to a dentist and had 3 molars drilled on with no
No,
medicine.
we can't. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm kind of obsessive when it comes to drugs. I just don't do it.
Right.
I mean, I'm already numb. I can't even imagine what would happen to me if I started doing recreational drugs. I was already numb. I was so numb that I could have 3 teeth drilled on without
Wow.
medicine. That's how numb I was,
Wow.
just to give you an example on a physical level.
Mm,
So with all that being said, when I discovered boundaries, when I
mm,
absolutely came into my physical body, recreated my energetic boundaries in my field,
mm,
um, learned about the sacred geometry that causes and gives us the finite physical experience. When I learned all that, it facilitated and enhanced my ability to be embodied. And once I became embodied, then the teeth thing, oh my God, it's all I could do to hang in there just to get my teeth cleaned. The taste totally changed. The whole world lit up for me. I was so embodied. I had such an amazing intimacy with my physicality, with my body, with my
mm.
life. And things started really being funny. I mean, it's even to this day, it surprises me when I start laughing at something. It's like, oh my God, that's funny, kind of
Yes.
thing. And when it comes to sex,
Uh, it's all like out of this world.
well, it was part of the healing that
Right.
master teachers have asked of me. I now can do Eastern orgasm. That means
Uh,
hours.
oh,
So
we could have like a whole show just on that.
exactly, just on that. So boundaries, and the just recently, it's become very, very solid in my consciousness. The more physically we are in our bodies, the more we occupy our toes, all in our chakras, all the way to the center of the planet, and fully occupy our fingers, and fully occupy our sit bones, where I'm in my coccyx and in my
Right.
perineum. the more that any lesson I do, any karma resolution that I do, it's done. If I'm out of body and I have an opportunity to resolve karma, it hardly counts. So the more I'm physically occupying my physicality, the more I am intimately involved with my experience, the more vast the resolution becomes. And not just for me personally, for my family, for my DNA, for my community, and for humanity. So it's huge, huge, huge to be in body. So to honor the events that are going on, I believe that spirit, whenever we're given an opportunity, there is always a high road choice and a low road choice. And anytime you turn on the news, you can find low road choices. Anytime you look on the internet, most of the time, you will find low road choices inviting you to invest your creative life force energy, your power to create, to empower fear, paranoia, panic, death, terror, limitation from source, and giving up trust. And then we have the high road choices, where we use this instead of an obstacle, it becomes a stepping stone to enlightenment. So my daughter, Janina, she goes, Mom, you need to do a boundaries class during this time. And 2 weeks ago, we said, okay, let's do it. And we made it very affordable. And it's the first time I did it totally online, because remember, I love feeling, I love touching people, I love nurturing and having them slobber on me and snot on me. That is like gold to me. It's the first time I totally did something online, and we had 90 people come. We had mothers with babies. I had 4 or 5 children online. I had, and about 60 of them, I don't know who they are. I don't know where they came from, and it was international. So all of a sudden, 90 people showed up, and we experienced boundaries, the deep sacred geometry teaching of it, both from a shamanic level and from the new paradigm galactic level, where there's initiations and downloads of the sacredness of being embodied, the sacredness, the magic of being informed, and how to fully occupy the finiteness that spirit has asked of us to experience and superimpose it with our divinity. So it was an amazing class. So thank you for asking for that. That was amazing.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
I really feel like right now is the time for people wanting to know those boundaries, because I feel that so many people are tired of the way things have been. Either they're not embodying themselves, or they're stuck in these routines, and all of a sudden these routines can't happen anymore. So now they're in a place, right? So it's a huge shift. So now they have to figure out, okay, what now? So something like what you're teaching is good for them to figure out who they are.
This is my truth. There's not a person on the planet that doesn't need boundaries, even if you've got rock solid. The boundaries, if I'm totally embodied, if I'm totally occupying my center, the balance between giving and receiving, past and future, source and ground, that's the sweet spot inside this sacred geometry. And the geometry is a cube. What makes us physical is the sacred geometry of the cube. And when our heart chakra is superimposed over that sweet spot, we are totally aligned. Our chakras are lined up. We're totally connected to source, and we're imbalanced in our cube, suspended in our cube of reality. I always look, the image I get in my mind is I have a 6 projector lens happening in the center of my heart, projecting my reality on each facet of the cube. And that's the reality I see around me. So when I fully occupy and my heart chakra is superimposed over the center of the cube, then it makes it so much easier, and it facilitates spirit to do the magic, to do the quantum physics, to do the miracles that I can manifest and ground. And so if I have a semi coming at me, literally, if it's not my time, it's not my destiny, it'll either go through me, it'll get deflected, it'll disappear, I'll move, something will happen that I can't be touched. As soon as I come off center, I either go into where I give too much, or I'm sucking, or I go into panic and then I go forward into the future, or I go back into the past and I'm hating, or I'm doing revenge, or I get too airy fairy, or I get too, or I don't trust source and I go ground. It just a fraction of an inch off center. I call it the sweet spot. Then I'm vulnerable. I'm not being supported. I cannot be supported by source. As soon as I'm lined up to center, then the miracles and the magic and the synchronicities all happen. I have a friend. Her name is Laura. She's been studying with me for 5-6 years, and she is a beloved. And when I first met her, I'm not sure, it even goes to my throat chakra. I'm not sure how long she would have lasted. She was on an exit out, and she found me. And she took every class, every step, did everything with me. And in the middle of last December, she was driving down the road. She has a little tiny car. Her dog, Bodhi, I call him Bodhi dog. He's a Japanese chin. He's in the back seat that's where he drives. She's driving along, and all of a sudden, this is on I-75, a semi next to her, fully loaded semi next to her, hits her, sideswipes and hooks her.
Oh, wow.
And she's going, and all of a sudden the door is crumpling, the window is, it does that shatter thing. And she's pretty sure that she was screaming. She was screaming. She looked around to make sure the dog was okay. And then all she said to her, stay in body, 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 as she's screaming. And the semi, God bless whoever this man is, was all he could do to not run her over. It flipped her car in front of the grill. So now she's sideways, broadsided, being pushed down the freeway. And she's screaming, stay in body, stay in body, stay in body, stay in body. And he unhooked, and she spun out facing the other traffic, the other direction in traffic. He pulls up, and we're in 75. I'm getting chill bumps. If you've ever been in traffic, it's like LA. He's in his body, running down, stopping traffic, running up, are you okay? And she's going, yes. Do I have tires? He goes, no. She limps off the freeway, not a scratch on her. The dog's okay, not a mark. Now, that kind of trauma, you definitely have to do chiropractic and you have to do body work. But I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, and so does she, that it was a major exit point. She was leaving. And because of the work she'd done, the shadow processing she had done, being embodied, having boundaries, that resolution of karma was done safely, gently, and easily.
That's beautiful.
And she's here today.
So everyone can do this.
Yes, everyone can do this.
Why is there such a fear for it, though? Why are people afraid?
Because we're afraid of being embodied. I mean, especially if we're psychic and sensitive. And my truth nowadays is, I believe, especially with the reset that's happening on the planet in the last few weeks and weeks to come, there is a major invitation for people to wake up. And I've been told for at least 2 years that 20% of the population was about to wake up. That's 1 billion people. That's 1 billion people. 1 billion people. 20% of the people are about to, and waking up means being in body, remembering the past, understanding karma, having some understanding of future, being able to read people's minds, and being responsible, knowing that your concepts and belief systems create reality, that you're 100% responsible for your creation, as above, so below, as within, so without. Now, the reason we don't want to do this is because we're addicted to being a victim. We're addicted to the trauma and the drama. We're addicted to not being responsible for what's happening around us, and we think God's doing it to us, that we're being punished, that we cannot trust. And the more that a human being must, because the goal is to be in body. The goal is to bring spirit into matter. That's what spirit has asked of us. That whether we actively took that request from the divine, or we got invested in the human condition one way or another. We are here now. And there are folks that just don't want to be physical. They don't want to be responsible. They do not want to show up. They don't want to fully participate. And in the past, if we had done that, it freaking hurts. You're liable to get your head cut off. You're liable to be burned. You're liable to be thrown in jail. And if you're burned, for good measure, your children are thrown in with you, just to make sure. And we remember these times, whether it happened to us, whether we made it happen to someone, or we witnessed it as entertainment, however the flow goes. There's just something about that we just don't want to be embodied. We think that spirit is better than being physical. And I'm here to tell you, according to divine, according to my understanding, that it's equal. That the physicality is just as divine and sacred and holy and desirable as being spirit. And we're already spirit. It's not about being spirit. It's about bringing spirit. And my understanding from both from outer teachings and inner teachings, the only way you're going to be done being human is to fully occupy the human flesh, is to fully participate in the human experience, is to fully feel, is to be fully responsible, to participate in our experience. If you want to be done with this, if you don't want to be human anymore, then you got to show up. If you avoid this, if you ride the fence, you're going to be here for lifetimes. And the other reason you were asking, why do we, are we good? Is this what we're saying good? Am I on it?
Yeah, you're on it. You are like way on it. And
All right.
I'm just resonating so strongly with this.
So the other reason we have an issue is, again, this is all my truth. This is my understanding, my synthesis of what I've been told, both from my inner vertical perception and guidance download and initiations, and my outward from my teachers outside myself. So we've got this horizontal and vertical, which is the true cross, where we're again at that nexus, at that sweet spot, which superimposes in our hearts. So from my understanding, let's see, what was I going to talk? Spirit decided, the prime creator, the infinite, incorruptible, infinite source, decided it wanted to do an experiment, and it wanted to grow itself the fastest it can be, and it put together this combination. And what I get on that, it really didn't understand how intense this experience was going to be. It was an experiment. It included our density of our physicality. Now, we're probably more dense than most consciousnesses in the universe. There are those that are denser, but we're mostly more dense. Then we have something called the emotional body, which, from my understanding, a lot of consciousnesses do not have. So we're very interesting. We have an emotional body, which allows us to taste the strawberries and enjoy the sunshine and have Eastern orgasms and enjoy the color pink and love how soft my hair is. There's an emotional, both at a physical and an emotional level of enjoyment that happens that most consciousness don't have a fathom about what that is. The next thing that Spirit put into, or the Prime Creator added to this experiment, was a thing called an ego. Well, that's a rarity. It's a first chakra thing. It's a sense of the little I am. It believes it's separate from, and Spirit gave this ego something called free will. So I'm going to cuss. Is that okay?
Please do.
It gives us the ability, I'm going to flip the bird, to say fuck you to God. And we do regularly. We are given our ability to have free will. So that means we can technically do whatever we want. Now, the trick is, sooner or later, our little I am free will must align itself with the greater I am and the will of the divine. But we're given an opportunity to choose otherwise. Well, that's a big kibosh in this whole experiment. And the last thing in this experiment is called duality. And what duality is, I'm a woman and there are men. So there's a duality. And then there's the yin and yang in everyone. Then there is night, and there's day, and there's in, and there's out, and there's the moon and the sun, and then there's processing and integrating, and then there's penetration and permeating, and then there's night and day, and cold and hot, and good and bad, and evil and divine, and on and on and on and on. Right and left, and up and down, and health and illness, and red and blue, and white and black. So there's dualities. My understanding is in other creations, there's no such thing as duality, and all means the same thing. So in our matrix, in the game we're playing, we believe that they're two separate things when actually they're the flip side of the same thing. So I've got my phone here. Here's the back side. Here's the front side. Back, front, back, front. So the front, if we only see the front and we think it's separate from the back, it causes this confusion, but actually it's the same tool.
Right.
The same tool. So it's a joke on us when we think in and out are two separate things. Well, as you're going in the house, you're going out from outside. As you're going out of the world, you're going into the world. It's in and out all at the same time. It's up and down all at the same time. And when we can grasp that, then there's a freedom that happens. Now, the point to all of that is, there is, when we look at sacred geometry, or when we look at, let's do the Kabbalah, we have the right and the left pillar of consciousness in our evolution in and our evolution out. So I like to use those pillars, like seeing the Isis. So I'm sitting here on my throne and I play Isis, and I've got the right pillar and the left pillar from my perspective, right? And the left one is dark and the right one is light. So if I take duality and I start assigning it right or left, I could put sun here, the moon here. I could put night here, day here. I could put women here, men here. I could put yin here, yang here. I could put up here, down here. I could do in here, out here. I could do black here, white here, and so on. Now, when I get to things like war and peace, war is here in the light, and peace is in the dark from my perspective. If I look at the devil and God, the devil goes on this pile and God goes on this pile. So so that's part of light. But part of darkness, now I've got peace, and I also have the devil. So let's talk about hot and cold. Hot would be here, cold's here. So cold's now in this pile. If I want to look at meditation and prayer, meditation is in this pile along with the devil and dark, and prayer is in this pile with God and the sun, and men and women's over here. Are you following me?
So how do you figure out which goes in which pile, or which side?
Well, the definition of right is action, right?
Right.
Is movement, is speed, is masculine or yang in its perspective. It's light, everything that goes in this pile. What goes in the yin pile is still, quiet, peace, is darkness, is going within. And anything that is still is in the yin pile. Well, the devil's over there. So's Satan, so's the darkness, so's shadow processing, so is evil. If I was to pick which pile does evil and divine go, divine goes in this pile, evil goes in this pile. So now we've got this collective, which is left, yin. And when I split things into duality, again, it's a matter of perspective.
Right.
This pile has got a lot of things that we're terrified of. So if I was to look at fear and anger is in this pile, fear is in this pile. If I was to look at depression, it's over here. What would be the opposite of depression? Being manic would be over here, right? Chess would be here and football would be here. So it depends on what we're comparing. So there's also a law called the universal law of correspondence and equality, as within, so without, as without, so within, as above, so below, that kind of thing. So we have a correlation of things in this left pile. And over here, along with evil, are women. Over here, along with evil, is peace, is ease, grace, kindness, these still soft parts, the soft massage. If I was to do chiropractic would be here and massage would be here because it's softer. But if I was to look at chiropractors and medical doctors, chiropractors would be here and MDs would be here. So it's a matter of perspective when I'm dealing with duality. So because there's this pile over here and there's things in it in association, then we judge them all to be evil in our unawareness or lack of consciousness. So when we get back to being in body, being in is evil. Being feminine is evil. Being the divine mother is on the evil pile. This is where Mary is. This is where Jesus is. If I went Hitler and Jesus is here, Hitler's is here, depending on who I'm comparing in the duality game.
So can you bring the two together, or
that's our goal,
right?
So to answer your question, the reason we fight being in body, according to the Tao and according to the Kabbalah, being in body is feminine, spirit is masculine. So to be in form, to be in matter is feminine. So earth, we call her. She's a she. We call Mother Nature, she's a she. The oceans, she's a she. Air is masculine when you look at the elements. So matter is actually being in the feminine. It's bringing spirit, which is masculine, into the feminine. So we fight that because there's an innate remembering that it's all on the evil pile and we're judging it to be right or wrong. And let's get back to giving and receiving. That's a big one. I mean, now I have to say I am religiously not trained. I wasn't raised in Catholicism or Christianity or being Jewish or Hindu. It was kind of a non-thing. I probably went to church maybe a handful of times. My parents were military, so if we went to something, it was non-denominational. I wasn't tortured in that, and I wasn't blessed in that. My understanding of religion came from Hollywood.
Oh
no. My understanding of religion came from science fiction and mystical fantasy stuff. I mean, my understanding came from amazing science fiction authors about divinity. So you have to know where I come from. Now, why am I saying that? Do you remember where I was?
I love you so much. You're so cool.
I went down a rabbit hole.
Well, yeah, we were talking about how they come together.
Okay, so my understanding is, I had to preface all that.
Yes.
So my understanding is that Christian, the Jewish religion and the Muslim religion came from the same source. They were three brothers. That's my understanding. I hope I'm saying that right. And there is a similarity in those religions about how they treat their people and how treat people be. And there is a concept that giving is better than receiving. And so to give something is much better than to receive. In fact, it's better than, lesser than. To be in this pile is lesser than being in this pile, which is greater than, when we go into duality. So it's better for me to give energy, to give love, than to receive it.
But then how do you find that space to give if you just keep emptying out? How do you fill it in?
Well, hold on to that thought. That's a whole another conversation. Hold on, can you remember that?
Yes.
Because I'm going to go down a rabbit hole. So what I'm being taught, just like my phone, that it's the same critter. Giving and receiving are the same thing. I cannot give to anyone if there's not someone receiving. I cannot receive unless I'm giving. So when I am a chiropractor, I've been a chiropractor, I graduated in 81. I've been active practice for 36, 37 years. I just recently retired. At a metaphysical, esoteric mastery level, when I give an adjustment, I am so aware that what I give the person, I must receive in exchange. So the energy I give the person, I had to have the space to receive equal what they can receive. If I don't, they can't receive. The adjustment is physical and there's nothing, it doesn't land. So the more that I am able to receive, the more the person is able to receive, and I match the person. So if they can do a profound receiving of what I'm giving, spirit will move through me and there's a magic that happens. I just receive the equal miracle. And if a practitioner doesn't understand that, then their practice doesn't grow and miracles don't happen. I cannot give love if I cannot receive the love. Now, I've also been taught that there's the Star of David, this exquisite symbol with a triangle, which is sacred geometry already. This is integration, this important concept of mathematics. And then the other part of the Star of David is the other half, like this. We have two triangles that are superimposed over each other. And what I was taught is that's superimposed in the back part of your neck. This is where it sits on your body. So what Spirit told me is this triangle represents my energy I give to the divine. This energy is what Source gives to me at the same time. So when I give love, unconditional love, to my incorruptible infinite Source, to the prime creator, the divine gives me unconditional love, equal in return. If I give God and the divine, according to the Course in Miracles, if I'm going to I want to come back, don't let me go down a rabbit hole, because the Course in Miracles is a huge rabbit hole. I was taught that the reason that we have the Holy Spirit, according to the Course in Miracles, is it was a matrix or a mediator energy between all that is and our finiteness. So whatever we believe to be true, suffering, disease, dying, incest, war, molestation, torture, if whatever we believe to be true, if we pray to the divine for relief or resolution or to save us, and if the divine actually, in actuality, perceived that be true, it would make it so. It would not be an illusion, it would make it so. So the Holy Spirit is designed to take our illusions and our requests, translate it to the divine so it hears it in truth. And then translates it back to us so that we get our miracle. So with that in mind, where was I in my rabbit hole?
You're speaking, and also I'm getting these questions because all of a sudden I'm thinking how important words are, in prayer. But I don't want to go that.
Absolutely.
Right. But how
my triangle thing.
Right.
Okay. So Spirit only sees the beauty of our energy. So when I give up, this is part of processing, and I give up my hatred, I give it to Source unconditionally, I get unconditional love in return. Energy is energy to the divine.
Right, exactly.
So the gift I give the divine is my suffering. And what it gives back to me is bliss. So in Source's perception, it's the same stuff.
Right.
So I can give unconditional love. It doesn't matter what the energy is. I'm doing an exchange, Spirit gives it to me. Now, the kibosh on this is if I judge at all what I'm giving to the Source, like it's not good enough or it's evil, it stops and Spirit stops. Nothing is. So they're not answering my prayer. Well, I just stop the prayer. I stop the exchange. If I judge that what Source is giving to me as I'm less than and I'm not worthy to receive, it all stops. The energy stops. And the energy stops here. And it's what causes the migraines, the headaches, the neck ache, the shoulder pain. This is all nerve supply that goes to my throat chakra, to my heart chakra, to my lungs, to my physical heart, my immune system, my arms. I'm stopping the exchange, especially at C5, C6, C7, major nerve supply to my heart, major nerve supply to my breasts, to my arms. So on a physical level, when I stop the exchange, I'm causing harm to my body. I'm affecting major chakras back here, and I'm stopping Kundalini from rising. I mean, it's levels and levels and levels and levels. But this Star of David that's superimposed on the posterior part of my neck, it just sits right here. When there is an exchange and a flowing, that I'm in intimate relationship with the divine, it's automatic. There is an exchange between the divine. So when I love God, God loves me. When I send blessings to the divine, the blessing sends to me. When I send grace, grace is given to me. Now, the mind-blowing part that I realized, that because of the giving, that's why I started doing this, the giving and receiving. We think giving is better than receiving, right? And if I give to God and I judge that receiving is less than, I stop it. If God gives to me, I already got an issue about it. To receive from the divine makes me less than in this muggle. If I look at the tarot, it would be the devil card, illusion, and I stop my connection to source again. So because we have, as a human race, according to my perception and my understanding, because we have an issue of thinking that receiving is less than, we alter it and bastardize it, and we make it, instead of receiving, we make it take. So instead of saying give and receive, we say give and take, right? We think that's the exchange. Remember what I said, according to my understanding, giving is active, receiving is passive. There's no action. So if I was to have a bottle of water here and a cup, when I pour the water in the cup doesn't reach up and take it. It's in a passive mode and it receives, right? It just fills up in reception. So if I change this from in our mind to make it better than, then it becomes a give and take. And if I take from source, what do you think source is going to do? Take from us.
Right.
So there's a suck that happens. So if I take from you, you'll take from me. And I'm defining to you war. It's what conflict is. That's how we go into conflict. So we have to wake up enough to allow ourselves to go in and be now, surrender is in this pile, in the left pile. To surrender to the divine, to surrender to source, to surrender to the divine authority, we have an issue of, because in the past, I always think of Napoleon when he was doing his thing and his soldiers. And I remember a war where everybody was on a beach. And the only reason the French won, or Napoleon's troops won, is because they still had bullets. The other side surrendered. Now, when you are the loser in a war, back in the day, they didn't take prisoners.
Right.
Oh, why? They just slit your throat. You were dead. If you were a loser, according to I have a friend who's a master in religion, in divinity. He said to dedicate a city, that's what the Hebrews do. Back in the day, long count day, the Hebrews were vicious. To dedicate a city to God, that meant, and there was a thing called an eye for an eye. So if you killed somebody, it would be the son's job to go and kill the person back. So they knew that. So they made sure they killed all the men, all pregnant women, and all male children. And the reason they killed pregnant women, well, you didn't know if there was a boy in there or not.
Right.
So people hid their boy children and hid them like girls. To dedicate a city to God meant you killed everything masculine. And you took it over. So when we get back to this thing, there's a taking situation that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So if I take from the divine, when I took from the divine, divine takes from me. And then we're wondering, I'm going to cuss again, what the fuck just happened?
Right.
I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. I'm meditating, I'm shadow processing, I'm tithing, I'm on my knees, I'm praying, and you just took my $500,000 and the market just collapsed. What the fuck is going on? The world is falling down like little chickadee. Save me, save me. So we have to change our perception and understand what this polarity is, which is the feminine, and allow ourselves to surrender and receive. Go within and meditate and have spirit fill you with the divine feminine. The goddess has returned. We're being forced. 5-7 billion people are forced to be still and go within. There's going to be some waking up. It's profound. The divine feminine has come back. So, all right, so